Happy Friday. What do you say we do some form checks? Hey guys, welcome back to another Form Check Friday. I'm Paul. You guessed it, Clint is sleeping right down here with his orange ball, his squeaky ball. I promise you at some point he's gonna start annoying the hell out of me with it. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. We've got a good group of form checks again. Always looking forward to Friday, helping you guys out. Quick update on, on me. Kind of same news. Radically Simple Muscle is out in paperback form. It's on Amazon and it's been selling surprisingly well. I thought most of the guys who were interested already had it, but maybe they're just picking it up again in a tangible form. Either way, I appreciate it. Thank you for checking out that book. The other news is I did a podcast episode, a second episode with the guys at the guy and the girl, I should say. I think they're husband and wife at Digital Barbell. So if you go to YouTube and search for Digital Barbell, that episode went up Thursday, and we just talked about, we each picked 3 things that we've changed our minds about in terms of programming. Excuse me. Frog. In terms of training, nutrition, all that stuff. So it's a fun episode. I love talking to Jonathan, and we had a great time. So if you aren't sick of listening to me talk for an hour and a half every Friday and just need more, go check out that episode. I thought it was fun, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Enough about me. Let's get into you guys, and let's look at your form for this week. So as you guys know, and for those of you joining for the first time, I haven't seen any of these videos, so we are all doing this together. Looks like we've got some returning guys we've been working on for a little bit. I don't know if there's some new people, but we'll figure it out, and let's get right into it. So DrKudos, the lawyer who claims to be a doctor via screen name. We have been working on his squat for quite some time. He's come a long way. Very happy with his progress. But it looks like we got something different today. So, hey, Paul, I want to switch gears and move away from squat form checks while I practice the hip drive. My press has been stuck for months while everything else is progressing. Dude, post a thread on the Reddit page. I can help you with this. For reference, I'm 160 pounds. My 5-rep Maximus are 300 deadlift, 245 squat, 170 bench, and 97.5 pound press. Here's my 100-pound press. And okay, let's take a look. So yeah, if you've been stuck for a month, that's a programming issue. It could also be a weight gain issue. If you're 160 pounds, the press is always the first lift to get stuck. If you're doing everything right, if you don't have a major technical error with any of the other lifts, then the press is usually the first one to stall out. It's the most sensitive to increases in weight, fatigue, lack of weight gain. So usually if you're doing everything right and the press gets stuck, that's your first indicator that you're sort of nearing the end of the novice phase. So it's supposed to happen. Just keep that in mind. Getting stuck is supposed to happen. It doesn't mean you're necessarily doing anything wrong. But let's check out your technique, and we will see if there's anything we can help on the form side. Let's kill the volume here. All right. Let me go back. I wasn't prepared for this. Okay. All right. We can help you. So we'll watch a few reps, just kind of take it all in, get a feel for the movement, and then we'll rip it apart. Okay. So the main thing here is your hip pop, the stretch reflex that you are generating from the hips to create the bounce, right? The bar dips down and pops up, just like when you're squatting, you get to the bottom position. If you go all the way down and your knees and hips are right, you've stretched out the adductors, those rubber bands, and that creates this stretch reflex that helps you for the first few inches of the drive back up. In the press, we are using the same concept of creating a stretch reflex in the transition from going down to going up. But instead of a vertical bounce with the hips, it is a horizontal bounce with the hips that creates a vertical bounce in the arms with the bar, okay? So it's the same idea of bouncing, but instead of going up and down, we're going forward and back with the hips. And the more aggressively you can pop the hips, and make that a dynamic movement, the more that bar will jump. So the way that you know you're getting it is if you have a rep where it just feels like the bar floats up, and before it even gets heavy, you're already underneath it. Because as soon as, unlike all the other lifts where we start with the bar over the center of balance, right? In the bench press, we're starting over the shoulder joint. In the deadlift and the squat, we're starting with the bar right over the middle of the foot. Because of your anatomy and how you have to hold the bar, the center of balance is over your shoulder joint. It's kind of the back of your neck, but the barbell's here. So we have this gap, this leverage that we have to deal with. Once the bar gets over the back of the neck, back here, then it's in a perfectly straight line and it will move efficiently if you get back under the bar. But part of the trick with the press is clearing this distance, right? To go from in front to directly over the joint, the shoulder joint. And the bounce is meant to help with this distance. While the bar is out in front of you, we're gonna pop it. It's gonna float up from that. It's gonna rebound up kind of weightless. Take that with a grain of salt. And then by the time, if you get the timing right, by the time it starts to get heavy, you're already underneath it. It's over the back of your neck, and all you have to do is drive it straight up. So that bounce is really important. And like I said, you'll know you did it well if it sort of jumped off your chest and it didn't even feel that hard. And then by the time you were actually pushing against the full weight, you're already underneath it. The ones where you just kind of, like you're doing, where you kind of flick your hips a little bit and it's a grind all the way from the bottom, that's not right, okay? Or that's not as efficient and useful as your technique could be. So let's look at your hips. So we're gonna pay attention to right down here, okay? And what I'm looking for is a full body bend forward, okay? So you're not rotating your hips like you're doing like a humping motion. Your whole body is like a bow, okay? So if you imagine this is the bow right here, and we're trying to draw that bow. So this whole thing is gonna come out, and I'm gonna exaggerate, but it's gonna come out like this. And this area right here in the thighs, this is the part, this section is what's moving forward, okay? If you try and get that range of motion forward from here, right? You're going to overextend your lumbar spine and you're going to feel a pinch. You're going to feel a shooting pain if you do it hard enough in your low back. Okay. This segment from the head, let me let those lines clear. This segment from the head to the hip. Okay. This is one solid, rigid segment. It doesn't deform here. Okay. So you've got this segment here, and then we've got this segment here, right? And then we're down here, okay? This right here is the part that we're pushing this way. So I always tell guys, you got to reach forward from lower. Don't reach forward with your belly. Push your thighs to the wall. And if you keep your abs tight and you keep this segment rigid, then you won't overextend your lumbar spine. But the reach comes from the thighs, okay, the quads, you can think, right? So if I draw what I want to see when you're out, it's a straight segment here, okay? And then a straight segment here, right? This being the area that we're pushing forward, the thigh. But this whole part is locked, all right? Now, we don't even have to talk about that because you're not even getting that far into it. So what you're doing is just a real wussy push with the hips. You're supposed to reach forward and find the end of that stretch, right? You push your hips forward till your quads tighten up and they can't go any further forward. And then they rebound off. You're looking for the tension. You push as far forward until you feel the tension, and then you let them bounce back. You let them rebound off that tension. There's no like uniform distance that the hips have to travel. Okay, everybody's different. If you're a 85-year-old stiff guy, your hips might only have to move a few inches forward before you feel that tension. If you're a 24-year-old female ballerina, she might have to push her hips, several inches forward, maybe even a foot forward before she finds the tension. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how far they go. The important thing is that you hit the end and they snap back. Okay. But if we watch your hips, so let's pay attention to like your thighs right here, and we'll just watch a couple reps. You see, it's just a little flick. It's almost like you're trying to hump the air, right? That's something you do with your girlfriend, that little pelvic thrusting, tilting motion, right? That's not a bend. That's not a full body bend forward. All right. So and because of that, if we watch now, we'll watch a few more reps, but I want you to watch the end of the barbell. Okay. So forget about your hips. We're going to watch what happens to the bar. And what we want is for that hip motion to cause the arm to dip, almost like your tricep is sitting on your lat here. It's going to dip down and then pop up. So we should see the barbell move like that. Not because, this is very important, not because you're doing anything with your arms, okay? You don't bounce the bar with your arms. You hold the barbell and you let the triceps rest against your ribs or your lats, and they just sit there like a shelf. There's no effort here. So in the bounce, you're not doing this. Now, your arms will do this, but it's not because you're actively pushing up and down. It's because it's a reaction. It's a natural reaction from the hips pushing forward and popping back. That momentum will translate to the arms dipping and then popping up in a dynamic motion, but it's a side effect. You're not actually trying to do that with your hands. You just let them rest here, okay? Very important point that a lot of people miss. Okay, so let's watch the end of the barbell and we'll see how much pop we get with the plates or with the bar. Not a lot, right? Kind of dips down barely. It's like, doot, doot, right? That thing should sink and then spring up, right? Like you're bouncing on a trampoline, right? It compresses, the trampoline fibers stretch, and then boom, it shoots you up. So you just have to be more aggressive here. Remember how we talked about being more aggressive with your hip drive on the squat? Reoccurring theme here. You've got to be more aggressive with the reach, right? Because you got one shot to get as much help as you can from those hips. And if you just like kind of casually flick your hands at your hips forward, it's not going to translate to much of a spring up. Just like in the squat, if you don't sink down and fire up, you're not going to get much pop out of the bottom. Okay? So we'll watch another one. Now, once you get here, right? Once you get to your forehead, all you're thinking about is shoving your face and your chest under the bar. You want that bar over the back of your neck as soon as possible. So while we want a straight line, I will often tell clients, think about pushing the bar behind you. And I'll stand back behind them and I'll snap and I'll say, push the bar back to me. So that they think about not just straight up, but up and back, right? Really what you want to do is, and this will happen sort of automatically, is push it straight up and you get under it. And that's the other advantage of the bounce, right? So the bounce and the press does three things. One, it gets your head out of the way, right? Because if you're holding it under your chin and you push straight up, you're going to whack yourself in the chin. So it moves your head back to clear a path. Two, it gets the bar started with a little bit of that stretch reflex. And three, as your hips go out and then come back, it pushes your torso under the bar. So the more aggressively you throw it out, the hips forward, the more aggressively your torso will go back and then snap forward. And if you time it right, as soon as that bar is here, it's like brushing your hair as you come back under it. Because the sooner you can get underneath the barbell and get it over the back of your neck, the easier the rep's gonna be. So you'll see a lot of guys press and they hang back here with all this leverage, all the way up, and then right at the end when they're struggling, they come under it and it shoots up. Well, don't wait till it's almost done to get underneath it. Get underneath it down here so more of the rep is easier, right? That's the idea, okay? So you're not getting under it as aggressively as you could, and the reason is that you're not getting enough out of the bounce. You're not getting the forward, you're not getting the rebound, and you're not getting the shoving your torso back under the bar. See, notice where you got stuck, right? Right here, you're stuck here. And the reason is this is the balance point and the barbell's here. So you got all this leverage. So this may be 100 pounds. It probably feels like 150. Imagine you were holding the barbell out here, right? With straight arms. It would feel like you couldn't. It would be impossible because the further that bar gets away from the center of balance, the heavier it feels, if that makes sense. Okay? So you have to really try and arch or push your hips, your thighs, this area right here, more forward and create more of a jump or a bounce. And you can practice that with just the bar or with like very lightweight. You don't press it, just hold it, let your arms sit against your ribs and just practice popping the hips and just let the bar do this and feel the rhythm, feel the timing. Right? It dips down. It's almost like a bounce pause squat, which I'm always recommending. Don't worry about pressing. Just out and see if you can get that thing to kind of dip and go weightless for a second. Okay? Let me see if I may not, but let me see if I have a video of someone pressing in my files. Press. Oh no, let me see this one. This may be a bust, but if I can. Oh, that's me. All right, well, let's see me do this. Hopefully I did it well. All right, so let's kill the volume here. All right, so let's watch my hips. See if I do it better than that. Nope. This is a bad example. Yeah, I think I'm going for high reps here. This is a bad example, and I'm starting with my hips too far forward. That's the other thing. You're not doing this, but a lot of guys will start with their hips too far forward so they don't have anywhere to go. So you need to make sure that you, at the end of every rep, you bring the hips back so that they can move forward. I was doing a bad job of that there. What do we got here? This looks like a picture. That's not any help. It's me again. That's probably going to be a bust. Who's this? Oh, this is my man Willard. Let's see his hips here. You can see him coming under it really well. I'm trying to find like a dramatic example. And like I said, everybody's going to be different. So the distance that your hips travel is kind of irrelevant. It's that they hit the end. But if I can find maybe I've got a better one here. This looks like it's probably the same thing. It's the same weight. That's not going to be any good. Let's see. How about if we look at my videos on HORNSTRENGTH.com/ oh, here we go. How to press. Okay. Let's see if I have an example on this. All right, we'll try this on YouTube. Oh, why is it doing that? Well, let's see. See, this is not a good example because that's kind of as far as my hips go. What if we look at the starting strength one? All right. See if we get into the hip part and he can demonstrate. All right, so this is the idea, right? He's going to reach Yeah, that's the exercise you want to try, right? Hands on the hips, pushing them, and find the limit of the stretch. You're going forward and back. Notice they go forward and then they snap back. Chase is a younger guy, so he's got a little bit more range of motion in those hips. But that's, you know, that's a much better reach than what you're doing. If you look at your video, you're just kind of flicking the hips and he's reaching forward, pushing his thighs forward. Let's see if we get it with the bar. Yeah. So this is the exercise you want to practice. Notice the bar dips and then pops up. But he's not doing that with his arms. It's a like I said, a side effect, a reaction to the hips moving, right? So the hips go forward. Notice the distance on these, okay? That's the idea, all right? So you got to work on that. That's your homework, is to work on just getting further, right? Getting more range of motion with the hips. Keep everything tight. So here you're squeezing your abs, you're squeezing your thighs. You should be flexing your thighs the whole time. You want your entire body to be rigid. Nothing is loose, okay? Your quads should hurt by the time you're done with your press, the set, because you've been flexing the quads so hard. Because the tighter that whole system is, the more pop you're gonna get with the bar when you shove the hips out and they rebound. If anything's loose, you're gonna lose some of that force transfer, okay? So you take it out, you squeeze your fingertips into the bar, you squeeze your forearms, you squeeze your biceps, your abs, right? After you take a breath, you flex your quads, everything's tight, and then you shove your thighs as far forward as they'll go and let them rebound back, okay? And practice it with the empty bar till you get the rhythm down, and then start doing the real press. Okay? So work on that. You could have gotten, if you were getting more out of that hip thrusting, that stretch reflex from the hips, you would have easily gotten 5. But because you're not getting any help really, you're just gassing your muscles out. And so by the time you get to rep 5, you got nothing in the tank. Okay? So work on that stuff. Let's post another video next week and we'll see if you get more distance, okay? Or at least more pop. And remember, don't bounce it with the arms. Let the arms sit here and make it bounce by moving the hips, okay? Not by moving the elbows up and down, okay? Cool, that was fun. Haven't done a press in a little bit, so we'll move on. Okay, normal character 269. Hey Paul, I'm uploading my squat video. If you can share your inputs on if there is enough hip drive or not, if anything else is needed to be corrected, kindly let me know. Thank you very much. You got it. All right, let's take a look. Oh, this is going to be an interesting angle. If you guys got to get your camera up. I mean, we'll still do this, no problem. But this is a very unuseful angle for me because too high or too low causes distortion with the perspective. So if you film your squat with the camera at head level looking down, your squats will always look high. And if you film them too low, there's some other issues. It's not as bad as up, but hip height. You want to be like, imagine I was behind you and I had taken a knee. I was crouching on my knee. Like my head's going to be right about where your hip is. That's the angle where I'm going to be able to see depth appropriately. So just grab a little tripod, throw it in your gym bag, and set it up so it's like hip height. All right, rant over on that, and let's see what we're dealing with here. Stance looks good. Upper body looks very tight. See, the other thing that's hard to tell here, like I know I can tell because I've done this enough, is the hip drive, and I can't really see your head. I mean, these look just light. Your form looks great. So let me just watch this again, see if anything. You've got good hip drive. Slow down a little bit. Yeah, take your time between reps. You're doing it now, but you need that little break in between. You just rushed that one, so. Man, these are clean. Like, upper back looks beautiful. Grip looks great. Stance looks great. Depth is on point. I'm trying to nitpick you here. That one was the fast one. Yeah, the only thing I suspect just from the movement is that you're lifting your chin on the way up. That you're on the, as you come back up, you're kind of lifting your head a little bit. I can't say for sure, but the pattern of the movement kind of makes me think that that's what's happening. It's not, you're you've excellent form here. The weights are ridiculously light for you. So you need to put some more weight on that bar, unless this is a light day, which is fine. But we might see some errors with an actual challenging weight for you. But I'm guessing that maybe your head looks pretty good there. It just looks like as you drive up, it's kind of tilted back. So you want to make sure that your chin is in a neutral position. You're looking down at the ground. So I might keep your eyes on these mats here, right? Like, you want your eyes basically a foot in front of your toes so that the chin's tucked, you're looking straight down. That helps you maintain that back angle on the way up and not lift your chest too soon. Okay. And I'm not talking about looking down like this, right? With your head up and your eyes down. I'm talking about your eyes are straight ahead and you're looking down. So you're going to be like this, not like this. Okay. Again, I'm nitpicking here, but it looks to me like your head might be a little up, which is just because your hips are kind of scooting back a little bit. It's really not a big deal here at this weight. So it looks to me like the knees kind of pull in a tiny bit, and that produces like a circular motion with the hips. So the hips, and again, the angle is a little deceiving, but rather than the hips coming straight up and down, they make this like circular motion where they come up and back. If we saw a heavy weight for you, we might see more of a sticking point when that happens, where you come up a couple inches and then you just hit like you get stuck, or the bar speed slows dramatically because the hips are shooting back, and so you want to lean over more. But at this weight, I mean, you're handling this very well. So I think the only piece of advice I have for what I'm seeing here is just make sure that you keep your gaze about a foot in front of your toes straight down, and just keep your eyes on that spot the whole time. Keep your chin tucked like you're holding a tennis ball. Stare at that spot, and it will help you. I mean, it'll basically help you drive with your hips a little bit more and maintain the back angle, and hopefully get your hips to come straight up and down instead of like a little back. Not any big error here. These are fantastic. So let's see something heavy. And I don't know if you left a comment about this being a light day. Yeah. If what is this, like 275? Unless those are 35s. I'm going to say that this is 275. But if those are 35s, then I'm not trying to take your credit for what you did. But you got to put more weight on the bar, man, because that was way too easy for, I mean, your body type, your technique. You have a very good squat, and so that should be easily 365 by now. But we'll get there. So let me know what's going on, and if this was a light day, post a heavier video so maybe we could see some more form deviations. Get the camera up a little bit higher so I can see kind of what's happening with the hips and stuff like that. But overall, these look great, man. So I don't think you've posted before. Maybe you have. But either way, thank you. And I'm kind of bummed I didn't have more to say about it, but you're doing great. All right, Kyriakos. Moving on. Thanks for the feedback on my deadlift. Working on it this week. Oh, you thought you could take a look at my press. Cool. So we got two guys whose squats and deadlifts we've been working on. Now we're going to look at presses. Heavy set of 8 this week. 62 and a quarter kilos, 135 pounds. Overall feels good. I just seem to lose my balance on some of the reps. Very obvious on rep 2. Okay. Whoa, intense. Okay, buddy, slow down. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. All right, Kyriakos, my man. So we got a lot to talk about here. This is a good one. Okay, so you are doing what we would consider to be almost a strict press. Sometimes we call it press 1.0, but you're not even doing the hip motion here. So let's talk about this unracking before we get into anything else, just to get it out of the way. So we talked about controlled aggression before, right? And the press is absolutely an exercise where you want to get angry before you take it out of the rack. It's just one of those lifts that does better when you bring some intensity, but you can't be sloppy. Controlled aggression, right? Because slop is inefficient and it's going to sap your energy and you're going to need it for that last rep. So I want you to get angry. I want you to get fired up, but don't get so amped up that you're sloppy. All right. So this, where jump, like the jump under the bar. Okay. No, you don't. Just like in the squat, unracking the bar should be considered a partial rep, right? So you don't jump under the bar, let your feet land wherever they land, and then unrack the bar and walk it out for the squat. What you do is you get under the bar before you take the weight on your back while it's in the hooks. You get everything set, you get super tight, you get your feet right, and you just lock your knees out. And then you're already in the right position. It's uniform every time, right? And then you take one step back, another step back, you make a little adjustment, and you're good to go, okay? If I jumped under the bar with my squat and just took it out, like, I'm probably going to tweak my back, first of all, just because you're not tight. You're so amped up. Your feet are in the wrong place. They're going to land in a different spot every time. So same thing with the press. Set your grip up, get underneath it, do all your adjusting before you unrack it. Get your elbows up in front of the bar. Get it exactly like you want to start your press. And then just lock your knees out and stand up. And then you're already tight. Then you take one step back, two steps back, and take a breath, tighten up, and go, right? That way you're not loosening and tightening. You're not having to adjust things while you're holding weight. The whole point here is to conserve as much energy during the setup so that you eliminate any random movement and you are conserving as much juice as possible so you can direct it to pushing the weight up, right? So calm down. Like, and again, that needs to be methodical, right? From the moment you put your hands on the bar, that is a repeatable pattern. It should be the same every single time, right? Like nothing is, you're like a robot. This is where my hands go. This is when I take my breath. This is when I get under it. This is where my feet go. This is, all of that. Like, you want it to be something that you just ingrained into your mind so that you don't even have to think about it anymore. It's automatic and it's as efficient and energy conserving as possible. Okay? So none of this anymore. Now, let's get into the form. Stance looks fine. You're supposed to be in your squat stance. Grip looks good. Okay? But what we're doing here is a press where there's no pause at the bottom. You're just going from one rep into the next, and you're not generating any of the hip motion. So I want you to go back and watch the first form check from this episode, because we talked about another guy's press and the hip motion. But more importantly, I want you to go to HORNSTRENGTH.com/videos. Okay. And I want you to watch the press video. So right here, how to press, I have a demo of me pressing, just doing one in my garage. Okay. But notice my hips. There's cool music playing, right? I'm bringing it down. I'm holding it. I forgot I did this video. There's the grip. There's how you set up the grip. You get underneath it. Notice I didn't jump. You walk it out, you get set, and then you pop the hips. Boom. And then you bring it back down and hold it. And then you reset and you pop the hips, right? In the bench press, same thing. I've never seen your bench press, but you lock it out, right? You bring it down, you lock it out, and you retighten for the next rep. Lock it out, right? The press, same thing. You don't rush from one rep to the next because they're just going to get sloppier and sloppier. You don't have a chance to retighten. And if maybe, I mean, you weren't even tight for the first rep because you just jumped in there, walked back and went, right? But your body needs to be as rigid and tense as possible so that it's stable, so that you get an efficient transfer of force to the bar. And if you're just going from one rep to the next in any lift, you're not taking the time to reset the start position. And if the start position's wrong, the whole rep's going to be wrong. Okay. So that's the demo. These are all my written out instructions of how to do it, what to do, tips, things like that. And then this video right here is from Starting Strength, and it's a full tutorial on like how to press and how to set the grip up, the whole thing. And then more importantly, you need to pay attention to this part about the hip motion, right? Because there's a stretch reflex in the press, just like all the other lifts, but the deadlift, there's a bounce, and the bounce comes from the hips. Okay. And so you need to learn how to use the hips. I'm not going to teach you the whole thing right now because this video does a great job and I've written out the instructions here. So what I want you to do is look at those videos, read the directions, and then practice it and post another video next week where you think you got the idea. Okay. And that'll be a good starting point for us because we can dial it in from there. This, you got to learn how to press the right way. Okay. But you will lift more weight with that method over time because you'll be tighter. It'll be more efficient. You get that little break in between and it's going to pay off. The way that you're pressing now is okay, but you're going to hit a wall sooner than you will if you learn how to do the movement correctly. Okay. So take a whack at that. Post a video next week with your best shot of the hip motion and the bounce and the whole thing. If you have questions about it, hit me up on Reddit. But it should be pretty self-explanatory. Those videos are really good. So, and then we'll work on it, man. But cool. This is like the press episode, which is nice. All right. Last one. Oh, this is going to be a short episode. Wow. Okay. All right. ShaneTribeTime. Okay. Not much to say. Lower back is not feeling fatigued anymore and feeling great. Good. Legs still ache all the time. Here's my deadlift 415 for 5. Legs still ache all the time. That's a bummer. All right, let's see what we got here. I feel like I see you in like a different location every time. Maybe I'm seeing things, but all right, let's see. You're going to pull 5 of these. Now, all right, just as a side note, I have a video on YouTube. It's on the Starting Strength channel, not my channel. And I think it's called like what to think about during the deadlift or something like that. Let me see if I can find it. This will be a little boring, but pull horn and deadlift. Starting Strength. I made it for the Starting Strength channel when I was working at the gym in Boise. Let's see if it pops up. Yeah, okay. It's here on YouTube. It's called Thinking During a Deadlift. And it's me. It's a short video. It's a minute and 40 seconds. And it's me explaining what to think about during the deadlift. And the point of this, and since we have some time, I'll just talk about it real quick. The point of that video is that you should not evaluate your ability to finish your set of deadlifts based on the first rep. And many of you guys who've been training probably already realize this, or have noticed this, but the first rep is really deceptive. In a deadlift, you're not like fully tight. You're not mentally there when you pull that first rep. And a lot of times it'll come up real slow and you think there's no way I can do 4 more of these. If you pull the second rep, it's almost always faster, right? Because now you're in the game. So my rule with my clients is you do not judge, you don't make any judgments on how this set is going to go based on the first rep. The first rep is going to feel harder than the second rep. So just get through the first rep, get to the second rep, and then you can have the conversation with yourself of like, oof, this is a tough day. Or, oh man, that second rep just flew up. I think I got this, right? Very important thing, okay? So just no judgment, no self-talk based on that first rep. You just pull the first rep to get to the second one, and then you can have a more accurate opinion on whether or not you think you're going to be able to get 5. All right? And this is a good example, because if we watch how slow, I mean, I think you said this is a set of 5. Yeah, 4:15 for 5. So if I'm watching this and I don't know anything about this guy and what rep this is, and I see it, I'm going to think this guy is like maybe one more. Like, look at how slowly this comes up. He's stuck right there, kind of. Like, maybe he's got a couple reps, but let's watch the second rep, and I bet it will be faster. Yeah, notice he kind of blew through that part around the knees where he got stuck the first time. So just something to keep in mind as you go into battle with your deadlift. Just like ignore the first rep. Just get through it and try the second one. Because these are all much faster, particularly in that middle section. And then the last one, you just got to get through. So like, good work, man. Good work. These are nice. These are very nice. What am I watching here? Are we doing more? Or is this like a... Okay, wait a minute. Let's go back. Now, I'm going to make some assumptions here. Or I'm going to do some checks with... Let me see this. I want to see your hand real quick. I guess maybe they're white. Okay, I'm assuming that this is a chalk bucket back here and that you're using chalk. If you're pulling 415 without straps, you're probably using chalk. Make sure you're using chalk. I'm going to assume that you are, but there was a glimpse there where I thought your hands didn't have anything on them. I also don't think these are lifting shoes. These look like maybe a Reebok, like very like flat soled lifting shoe, or like nanos or something. We don't have a lot to talk about with your technique, which is why I'm just talking about a bunch of random stuff. But I prefer to pull in my lifting shoes. We've talked about this before. I like the heel. I don't think it makes a difference. I don't think it is a negative. I think at worst it's neutral. Unless you have a guy that cannot get off his toes. I have had like 3 clients in my career that just refused to rock their weight back to their heels, and they were always forward. And the bar was always swinging off their legs. In those cases, I would make an exception and have them pull barefoot or in slippers or something like that. But for most guys, I like the heel. I think it might give you a little bit more push from the quads, and it definitely supports the foot more. The way those lifting shoes are constructed, it's not just the heel, it's the structure of the shoe and the cup that the heel sits in, and prevents your feet from rocking out on the sides, right? Any instability of the foot, right? If you were on carpet or something, or really like spongy rubber, something like that, any little deviation in the pressure on your foot, that's your brain has to deal with that. It has to focus on you trying to pick up 415, and also like what's happening down here with the feet. If we can take that away from the brain so that it's like, I don't have to worry about my balance. My feet are bolted to the floor because of these weightlifting shoes, because I've got this cup, my foot's locked in, it can't roll out on the sides. There's a strap that's sucking my foot down in there. That helps a lot with, giving you the bandwidth to process the more important things like your technique, keeping your back straight, stuff like that. So I personally prefer lifting shoes. I find most of my lifters do fine with them, and oftentimes better than when they come in and they're pulling in like Vibrams or something like that. You may have a reason. These may be lifting shoes and I just can't tell. They look very flat to me. So whatever. It's not the end of the world. You're obviously doing great. You're pulling 415 for 5, so maybe don't mess with it. Technique-wise, I mean, the bar's right on your legs. You're setting your back real well. You're holding and pausing, which I harp on that a lot. I may have to save this video just to illustrate that pause. And then, well, you rush that one a little bit, but you're mentally trying to battle through this set. So I'm going to give you a little slack here. I mean, these are great. Even spit out on that one. Let's go back to the beginning. Watch. Maybe there's an error in the first rep. I didn't really see it, but let's see the second one. This is the real one I'm going to judge. Okay, so you bump that one a little bit. And you can see it kind of break off your shins. Was that the first? Yeah, that's the first one. Let's zoom in here for the second one. And we'll watch. Just keep your eyes kind of here on the barbell, and you can watch the plates. You'll probably see them roll forward a little bit. Whoop. Yeah. Very, very slight. And let's figure out exactly why that happened. Your weight, it's a little forward, I think. Yeah, you know what it is? Okay, so this is the pause part. So let me see you how you reset your weight before I grill you. Yeah, your weight's a little forward there. Much better on that one. So if you notice the difference between these two reps, okay, notice how you rush this. You set and then you're already kind of going. Your foot was twitching. This one, you're more tired, so you're taking your time. You set, you rock back, you pause, and then it comes straight up the legs. So the only thing that happened on this second one is because you were rushing. Remember, the order is you put the bar down, you rock back, you rock your weight back to your heels. So get 60% of your weight on your heels, off your toes. So but this is before you set. This is before you take your breath, before you do anything hard. Set the bar down, rock back off of your toes. Get onto your heels a little bit. 60% of the pressure's on the heels. Then you start the deadlift launch sequence, as I've started calling it, right? Breathe, squeeze, pause, pull. Breathe, squeeze, pause, pull. Once your weight is where it needs to be, your hips are where they need to be, take a breath, squeeze your chest up, meaning set your back, pause, and pull, and then pull or push is really more appropriate since we're using the quads off the floor. So breathe, squeeze, pause, push. But the pause is really important, okay? Because it ensures that you are done setting, you're done setting your back as much as you can before you start pushing with the legs. And what happened on that second rep is you weren't fully set yet when you started trying to pick the bar up off the ground. And because of that, you're still kind of rocking back a little bit, and then your weight isn't where it needs to be. And because you're trying to squeeze your chest up at the same time you're pushing, the bar sort of swings away from your legs a little bit. It pulls you forward, swings away from your legs. On the rep after that, you pause longer. So that pause gives you a chance to make sure, okay, I've set my back, I'm motionless. If you happen to drop your hips when you set your back and nudge the bar forward off your shins, like a little, you have that pause to roll it back. It also is a moment to go, okay, I set my back. Can I squeeze a little more out of this before there's a bunch of weight in my hands? Like, I'm set, but can I set a little harder? It's like a tension check, right? Like, I've got a pause here and nothing else is moving. Your weight you don't have weight trying to move in two different directions at the same time because you're motionless. It doesn't have to be a long pause. It just has to be a beat where you check that you're as arched up as you can, the bar is still touching your shins, and you're motionless. You're done setting. Because like I said, if you're trying to set and push at the same time, the bar will swing away from you. And we've seen very exaggerated examples of this in other form checks. You're not bad. You just rush that one a little bit. So take your time. Like, give that pause you know, take it seriously. And what happens when you get more tired is you pause a little longer. See, that length of a pause was fine because you were done setting. Set, hold, see, you rushed that one a little bit too. See, and you saw as you set, you dropped your shins, and then, okay, watch this. Let me see if I got the right rep here. Yeah, okay, we're gonna watch that one again. So let me slow it down for you. So what you're gonna see is, in the process of setting your back, you drop your hips. When you drop which happens, I mean, ideally you don't want to, it usually happens a little bit. When you drop your hips, the shins push the bar forward. So you nudge the bar, and then with the bar forward, you start trying to pick it up, right? And so now this is the middle of the foot. We want a straight line to be as efficient as possible. And now it's here. It's not much in your case, it's here, but that is not an efficient place to pick up the bar because you got this little gap, right? If you pause there, you could roll it back before you started pushing. If you made an error and dropped your hips, you can fix it. Okay, so let's watch. Let me see if I can zoom in here. We'll watch this whole thing, and you can. I thought I slowed it down. I didn't slow down. I tried to. Oh, maybe I reset it. Okay, let's go back. So nudge it, and then you're picking it up with it forward. Okay. So, like I said, the easy solution here is just make sure that you put a beat in between setting and pushing the bar off the ground. Okay. So if you happen to nudge it, but if you're setting your back and pulling at the same time, and then you nudge it, it's coming off the ground at an angle with more leverage than you need, which is just going to make it feel heavier. And since you're lifting 415 for 5, every little bit helps at this point. Okay. I'll show you my favorite deadlift video if I can find it. And the guy's not even deadlifting that much, but let's see, where is my deadlift? Well, we can watch James here, who's one of my old clients, but he just had a great pause. Okay, so if we look at, he's just going to set up and then push. So he's going to roll it back, pause. See, notice how he's motionless. Sets it down. Chest, that one he rushed a little bit. Come on, James, you're making me look better. See if he fixes it here. He should hold it and then go. Yeah, and that one actually swung away from him a little bit. I should fix that video. Where's my good deadlift guy? The guy that, oh, this guy. Okay. We haven't seen this guy again, but he just had a beautiful, beautiful deadlift. And I've shown, you've probably seen this video if you've been watching this channel, but just watch the timing here. So he's knees, he's going to set, hold, and then straight up the legs, right? Now he's going to reset. Okay. Weight distribution, set, pause, and then pull. Okay. But just look at the beat. Boom. That little extra time between setting and going makes all the difference. Tight and hold and then go. Right? That's it, man. That's what you got to work on. So just put that little beat in there and I think you'll be good to go. Strong work, like everything else, looks great. It's a good deadlift. It's just about refining it, kind of dialing it in. That's why you guys are here. So thank you for the posts, everybody. We did it in under an hour. Amazing. Okay. 55 minutes. So hope this was useful, guys. Thank you as always for posting, and I will see you on Reddit. I'll have this video up later tonight, probably tonight, and we'll do it all again next week. I love it, and thank you for being a part of it. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Bye, guys.